Hello, people. I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by STEPH, and we're looking at a Vice video today. The sex guru wanted by international police, the business of crime. And so I thought this would be interesting. I don't know how I titled this video because that's in the future and we're in the present. But yeah, that's the actual name of the video because, you know, YouTube monetization, all that's gotta be careful. Sneaky stuff. You guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, what this up is. I'm Jaby. No, I said that already. I haven't eaten breakfast, forgive me. If you haven't already subscribed to Vice and you like the content, be sure to subscribe to them as well. There's a link in the description below. Click on that link at the original upvote and follow STEPH on the social media. Here we go.
The fraud, the fake godman himself has fled.
Many people asked me, Swamiji, why did you leave such a huge empire you built?
Some say he has fled to a South American country. He has so much money.
Law enforcement really needs to take a much more serious look at these isolated groups.
We are going to be safe forever. That is the good news I have for all my disciples.
This music is so intense.
Yeah.
Like, this is the worst guy ever.
Like, what's gonna happen?
I'm getting like so anxious, like I'm watching Zero Dark 30 or something.
Yeah.
There are the polymaths, and then there's Paramahamsa Nityananda. That is, at least, if you take the word of the self-proclaimed God-man himself. Healing the blind, stopping the sun from coming up, making farmyard animals speak in perfect Sanskrit. The 44-year-old really can do it all. To his followers, Nityananda is a divine being, but to his many detractors, he's a con man and a cult leader who has somehow escaped justice despite being wanted by Interpol on and kidnapping charges.
Former member of Nityananda.
So, in case that word was bleeped out or blocked out, it's grape without the G. I always we always use the word grape here.
Yeah.
And there are instances where Acharya has said it's grape to me, and I'm like, hold on, I'm thinking of fruit. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
So I have to explain it every time.
Yeah.
Scout had accused him of
Graping her.
Where a father is fighting for justice, fighting for his two daughters whom he claims has been kidnapped and illegally confined.
He could have very well have fled the country, ensuring that he once again escapes from the law.
In 2019, he fled his native India despite lacking valid travel papers. Where does a guru on the run settle down in the early 21st century? Simple. He establishes his own state.
Kailasa is the space where human beings literally become divine beings.
Though no one is exactly sure of Kailasa's coordinates, or even its existence, rumor has it that it lies off the coast of Ecuador and even has its own flag, currency, and COVID policy.
It is not just a temple or a monastery or a adinam, not even a nation. It is an enlightenment ecosystem.
Welcome to the business of crime. In this episode, we're looking at the rich tradition of cults, buying up land across the world, the occasional successes, and the many often bizarre, dangerous, and sometimes fatal failures.
This is so interesting to me, this kind of thing. It's like, okay, so you do this whole crazy, intricate organization that is predicated on not getting caught.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so you have a lot of money, like Pablo Escobar, but then you got the problem of always trying to hide it. You get the problem of always of paying off the law and, you know, the powers that be, and you're always on the run. Are you really enjoying anything? I feel like the person who works at the tire shop, has 2 kids and a wife, might be living a better life than you if you're constantly on the lookout for getting caught or, you know, apprehended.
Definitely, but it makes me think, okay, you've probably already done something illegal if you're willing to go to this many lengths.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, this is better than being confined in a cell or, you know, put to death, whatever it may be. And I think it's like you have to be such an extreme narcissist to be a fake fraud guru and have all these followers, and narcissists will do whatever it takes for anything that they want.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense for any ambitious cult, whatever its belief system. You've got charismatic leadership and a growing number of devoted followers. The next logical step is finding somewhere of your own to settle down and plan a new dawn society or whatever else is on the table.
The idea being to isolate themselves, not to be accountable, to the authorities, Child Protective Services, police.
This is where they lived, among the stables, barns, and phony buildings of an old rundown movie location 40 miles from Los Angeles.
You know what this is, right?
From the
that was a Manson.
Yeah, because I recognized it because it was recreated perfectly in
Once Upon a Time
in Hollywood, yeah.
Manson family's Span Ranch out in the Californian hills to Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh's vast Oregon ranch in the early 1980s. It's a common enough story, offering the chance to live apart from mainstream society and away from any prying eyes.
In many of these isolated compounds, there are crimes being routinely committed.
It isn't as simple as it used to be. In May 2019, authorities in northern Minnesota called a temporary halt to construction on land linked to Seth Jeffs, a high-ranking figure in the fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Whoa.
This is the hidden world of the FLDS, one of the largest polygamous groups in the United States.
The plan involved building a 5,760 square foot structure to house some of the controversial group's adherents. Unlike mainstream Mormons, the thousands-strong sect still practice polygamy as a matter of course.
The huge compound where Jeffs and his so-called sister wives lived, all 79 of them.
Whoa!
Seth Jeffs' brother is considered by followers to be a prophet sent from God.
Hashtag goals, man. There's I don't think people realize the level of responsibility involved with that. It's like if you've ever had a girlfriend, it's like a child. You know, one child's a lot. Try to imagine all the headaches that come with one partner. Imagine having 79.
No, if I could probably have multiple boyfriends. Do you know how much work that is?
Probably.
Unpaid?
What do you mean probably? If you wanted, you would most definitely be able to.
Yeah, but it's like to want that is insane. I'm not trying to shame like Pauly. This is different. 79 wives is completely different. It's like, what, dude? The amount of time, money, effort, and control that would take, you gotta be a psycho. You got 79 wives.
Men will be men.
Jaby, come on. This guy's a criminal. Look at him, locked up as he should be.
Ain't nothing criminal having 79 wives.
Oh, God. Disgusting.
He's a hero.
No, he's a
legend.
I just watched a documentary on that. Their focus was to keep the women, the core focus, as little education as possible. Because once you break the ceiling of realizing what's out there and that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
No one's willingly going into that with access.
Smart women are a trap.
A booby trap.
Booby trap.
He is also serving a life sentence for assaulting 2 of his child brides.
Okay, well that's not cool. Okay. I draw the line there. It's like, you can't be assaulting bitches.
Well, that ends up what happens, Jaby. It's like no normal person does that. So it's like where you find smoke, you're definitely gonna find fire.
Yeah. That's true. Especially like the statutory stuff.
Yeah.
Grody.
Ugh.
Yeah. When it's the reverse, though, it's pretty cool.
Oh, with a cougar with a younger guy?
That's why is it like that?
If it's under 18, that's disgusting. Any but circumstance.
No, but like, okay, look. When you hear about a man being a predator towards a young lady under 18, it's grody. It's like, what are you... Dude. But when you reverse it, and you got a woman... like a woman, and then a young man who's like 13. You, as a guy, you immediately go back to 13 in your mind, and you're like, whoa, that's cool.
No way.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, please tell me I'm not alone here. I feel like it's just different. When I was 14, 13 years old, and I heard about like the Mary Kay or whoever it was, having babies with this 13-year-old guy, I'm like, this fucking lucky bastard. Like, that's how my brain worked at that age. And years later, when I hear about these stories, as weird as it is to me, that you would be a grown-ass woman dating a young guy. When I was 16, I dated a 25-year-old woman, even at a young age.
Crazy.
Some women have a basket case, like some women and men. A lot of people just dodging sexism. I think I was 16 and she was 25 or something like that. I just remember she was 9 years older than me. Looking at that now, I'm like, that's weird.
Yes.
But as a young guy, I'm like, this is hot.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But it also must be about that unconscious comfortability in your safety. I feel like in the dynamic between men and women, or men, girls, boys, women, like it's a different sort of fear that we have.
Maybe, yeah. Because like, let's create a scenario that's gross, right? You have an adult male in his 20s approaching a young lady who's younger than 16. I feel like that girl is already going to be potentially on the defense, right? Because of how she's been conditioned or whatever. Mm-hmm. You reverse the gender and you have a woman who's attractive hitting on a 12-year-old boy. That boy is going to say yes in a heartbeat. All of his senses, everything about him is going to be in full operation and completely submit.
I wish I could be so lucky. I wish we lived in a society where, I don't know. I think it's just crazy though, because I think about how underdeveloped I was and how creepy it is for an older person to be attracted to that, to a child.
Oh yeah, it's totally fucked.
Yeah.
It's wrong on so many levels, but there's a primal there's a primal part of me that's like, oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Because you're not old enough to really see that fully for what it is.
Yeah.
But it's different because we have the fear.
Yeah, well, there's a part of my brain every time I hear a story like that takes me back to that age again, and I regress. It's the weirdest thing.
How funny.
Because like if I were to run into a bully that I met in Catholic school today, there's a part of me that would regress and have similar anxieties to what I had back then. And so I think that's a natural thing.
Yeah.
So
the most wanted men by the FBI for a period of time when he was a fugitive. So by controlling all this real estate and all these different locations, Warren Jeffs maintained his power.
There are others who have had more success.
But yet, the left says, you're the dangerous ones, you're the Nazis, you're the white supremacists, and half of you, or 90% of you are not white.
The Rod of Iron Ministries is the latest offering from Pastor Hyung-Jin Sean Moon, son of the infamous Reverend Sun Myung Moon, who started the hyper-conservative Christian ministry in South Korea before taking it to the US in the 70s.
This is what most people remember. The mass weddings, the Moonies. Young people sent out to sell flowers and give all their money to the church.
The younger Mooney follows his late father's teaching with a couple of contemporary twists. In the book of Revelation, Jesus spoke of using a rod of iron to protect the true believers. Sean Moon's take involves worshipping with AR-15s and a strong devotion to all things MAGA.
These Christians believe they must build God's kingdom on earth, and to do that, they'll need guns.
The gun really does represent strength, peace through strength. You know, if you have a gun in self-defense, the criminal or the predator will back off.
In 2021, the group bought a 40-acre space in central Texas, not far from Waco, a safe haven for patriots and true believers in the coming war brought about by the machinations of the so-called deep state. The new site has a range of amenities, including a shop, cabins, and outdoor campsites. But that hasn't stopped them from setting up a GoFundMe page for further work.
We thank you that we would have the opportunity to be able to practice and love God and love our neighbor. From you, we receive our rights of kingship and sovereignty.
While the latter-day Moonies fret about malign unseen forces perverting the American nation, another US town offers a case study in how to attempt a stealthy takeover.
The real problem is that Moscow is dying.
Moscow is a small, superficially tranquil city in Idaho and home to the Christchurch Group, a 2,000-person strong, ultra-conservative congregation formed in the 90s. Led by Douglas Wilson, a deeply controversial slavery apologist, the group have called for the establishment of a theocracy in the US. In late 2021, reports broke of the group's growing influence in Moscow, with downtown land purchases and aggressive attempts to influence local businesses and initiatives. Concerned residents spoke of how the church were looking to expand and attract new members to settle in the area. Perhaps unsurprising, given its stated goal is to make Moscow a Christian town.
This is crazy, yo. Like, I thought we were going to be just looking at the Indian sex guru guy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was going to be a whole cacophony of gurus, but it's interesting how these people, these narcissists, are able to weaponize our innate genetic or biological predisposition towards tribalism.
Yeah.
Like, that's ultimately what this is. Like, you ever hear about groupthink or just tribalism in general? That's how we survived for so long. And so there's a part of our brain, you know, because if you look at the brain, like the bottom of it is the oldest, you know, in terms of evolution, the bottom third. So there's a lot of old material, shall we say, that's still in there, that's baked into us, that is part of our survival mechanisms. I think tribalism is a huge part of that. And so when there's an opportunity to jump into a groupthink situation or a tribalistic situation, be it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or in real life, or in a cult, like our body wants to be part of that because it's part of us surviving. And we will join in this groupthink mentality, as absurd as it might be, because it is linked to our survival. And it's being weaponized by these people who are very smart,
yes,
willing to do the most irrational thing, or by common standards, the most irrational thing possible, and are highly narcissistic.
Whether or not they believe in what they're saying, if it gets the job done, they'll
Right.
absolutely say it. And then they pick the right groups that are often desperate to seek validation and to be seen by peers.
Yeah.
And what's the best way to do that? Religion. And if you can't find a religion or a cult that's adjacent to religion, then you find a group or something where we all need something to attach to, which is why the internet has been utilized for so many of those lone sheeps that feel like they don't connect with people around them.
Yeah.
Then they find these hyper crazy groups that they're like, brother.
The other component there that you kind of mentioned is peer pressure. It's like peer pressure doesn't stop in school. When you leave school, it's actually still there. It's all baked in. And there is a peer pressure to believing certain ideas or philosophies when you get into the world that maybe you don't agree with. Do you know Heaven's Gate? I've talked about it before on the channel, but basically it's 40 members, one bounced before the eventual end. 40 members of this, I think it was in the name of Jesus. You had this cult leader who convinced all of his followers to abandon their attachments sexually by women, I think, sewing up their hoo-has, and men removing,
They did that?
40 members, yes. And then, eventually the cult leader had nowhere else to take it, so it was a mass taking of their lives. I'm trying to find the words to navigate this conversation with YouTube. One person bounced and lived to tell about it.
Wow.
But think about what is being asked of you. You're being asked to remove what part of your situation, to amputate part of yourself. Everything in your body, if you're by yourself, says that's insane, that's stupid. When you're in a group setting where that is collectively said to be okay, there's a peer pressure there, even though you're a grown-up, you're an adult, and you're making the decision to do this anyway, even though if you were alone, you wouldn't do that.
I would Google that as soon as...
There's no objectivity there.
Yeah, it's when you do get in that group think, there's so much power in that.
Yeah.
And it's like a drug. You get a high off of people feeling certain things, and you don't even have the time. When you're bouncing off someone's ideas, it can be so great, and it can also be bad, because when you're bouncing off ideas, you're not taking the time to sit with the idea. You're going to the next step, and then that's just multiplied when you have more members in a group who now no longer have members.
I mean, I feel like we all are part of micro cults, or cults that are not called cults, whether it's I'm a Marvel fan or whatever, it's low-key a cult in a way, and I'm part of that, and I'm open to, I can admit that, or the DC cult or whatever it is, or the YouTube cult. Everything is a cult in its own way, in its own fashion. It becomes a religion. If you look at the way people act about these things and how defensive they get about these things, you can't tell me that's not a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's also just shows how important it is, though, especially when you have one main person in a cult. You have to be even more so geared towards questioning their motives and what they're saying and what they're telling you to do. When it's more, I agree, everything kind of can be a cult, like Marvel fans, Star Wars fans, but there's not one core leader. There's a difference in one person spreading information to everyone else and having that much power.
Well, I feel like a lot of times you have a leader of some kind, but then that leader's not good enough and gets thrown out, like J.K. Rowling. Exactly.
Yeah. She raised Dumbledore's army only to become
the enemy.
Yeah.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Period.
Ain't that the truth? DC cult. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Do let us know your feelings in the comments below. Be honest. Be nice. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
STEPH.
Peace out.